In this video, I'm going to be talking about the keyword struct. The basic idea of the struct keyword is to create what is called a structure in C, which is a composite data type. That means that it's a single type that has multiple things inside of it. So maybe think back to Java. In Java, we had something like a class, and a class contains state and behavior, and they're all bundled together. Well, what a struct is basically just the state part of that. So you can have multiple variables that are all basically stuck together, right? And they'll all, whenever you have one, you basically have all of them. It's a collection of things. So we have the syntax here on the top. This is to create a struct called type name and then put a bunch of things inside of it. Type 1, element 1, type 2, element 2, type n, element. So basically, right, we use the struct keyword followed by the type name. So whatever we want this new type to be called, and inside we can have a bunch of different members. I guess jump back to Java for a second. In Java, when you create something like a class, all of the member variables inside of it, right, that's effectively what these are. These are effectively member variables. All of those variables are by default private, and then if you create functions, then those, or methods, then those will end up being public. Now here in C, we don't have any functions, we don't have any methods inside of a struct, we just have member variables, we just have data. Well, because of that, the default mode here is basically going to be for all these to be public. So as soon as I type in, I will have an int x or an int y in here, it'll instantly be available to everybody. So think of it as all these are basically just public variables here. So I can put as many things as I want here. I can have all sorts of types. I can use the primitive ones. I can use an enumeration. I can put even another struct inside of a struct. I can use pointers, whatever I want. Point is, they'll all be bound together into this one composite type that contains everything at the same time. Down there, you can see a little bit of the code in order to use this thing. So if I want to create a variable, I have to do the annoying thing where I have basically two parts to my type. So I have to do something like struct type name A or struct type name B, right, to create a variable. Now, if we don't like that, if I just want to type, type name A or type name B, what I can do is I can go back and use typedef, right? So typedef was a way to basically define a new type, and so I can use that in order to rename struct type name to just type name or something else and make my life a little bit simpler. Last line there, we'll talk about this more, is an example of how to access data inside of a struct. So if I have a variable that is a struct, I can go a.getElement, right? So it says I have basically a struct called A, variables called A, and inside A has a member, a piece of data called element1, right? Which I would assume is in like an int here. So we use that dot operator to get the stuff inside. Try to highlight this here. This is the dot operator. I use that a lot. So that'll give us that element inside of that struct. So why is struct useful? Well, it's useful whenever you have two pieces of data that need to go together. So if I have something like, for example, I want to define a point in my program where I have x and y, right? Or maybe I have a rectangle. I need, a height, width, and x, y. Then I want everything to be bundled together, and then in that case, that's where I want to have something like a struct, because I want to keep those pieces of information together. So let's take a look at an example of some code. So here I have my simple program. Top part's pretty boilerplate. I just have my includes to bring in some random stuff. And then I have the declaration of my struct. So a lot of work is being done here. So here I have my struct course. So course is going to be the name of my struct I'm creating. And there's four things inside of it. I have an integer called SLN for section number. This is actually supposed to be modeling a class. I have a string called title, a string called instructor, and time. So I have four different elements inside of my struct. Right, I have four pieces of data. Next line there, I can see I have my struct course SER334. On that line, what's happening is that I'm declaring a variable called SER334 of this new struct type that I've just created. So first part was just a definition of the type. The second part is going to be the actual variable I create. Last part there, void main. So this is our actual body of our program. And so at that point in time, I already have a SER334 variable available that's of the struct type. And I can do something like, SER334.sln equal 1774, basically to go to that particular variable, which is of the struct type, go to the section number that's inside of it, and set it equal to that value. So in that case, right, I'm basically updating the information that's inside of that struct. The next two lines do basically a similar thing. So we have our str copies, and what that's doing is it's going to that str222 variable again, right? And this time we're going to, for example, the title, and we're copying this bit of text, right, data structures and algorithms, into that member, right? So SER222.title, that's saying that again the SER222 variable, and title is a member of that variable. It's a member of that course struct. And we're copying that text into it. Same thing here is happening on the next line. This really should be str copy over here. We're going to that variable str222, going to the instructor member of it, and copying this bit of text into it. At this point, we basically have filled out most of our struct. So that's going to be the basic usage. The dot operator is generally what you're going to use to get inside of a struct, although we'll have one example in a few minutes that'll show you a different way called the arrow operator in order to change stuff inside of it. Now, if I want to read stuff out of it, what I can basically do is use the same syntax. So if I want to, for example, print the instructor name, what I would do is something like print str222.instructor. So basically, it's that same syntax, right, will let you both assign to it and read from it.